found the letter in a box of old clothes, hidden under the lining, almost like it didn't want to be found. The paper had turned yellow with age, but his handwriting, sharp, steady, familiar, made my hands tremble. For years, I had blamed him for everything that went wrong after he left. But as I read those first few lines, the story I had told myself began to crack. Before continue, please subscribe our channel and like our video. I grew up in a small town in southern Ohio, where everybody knew everybody's business, and nothing stayed secret for long. My father, Robert Miller, was a tall, serious man. He worked at the post office. People respected him, but they also whispered. They said he was too proud, too stubborn to bend when life demanded it. My mother, Mary Knott, was gentle, quiet, the kind of woman who tried to keep the peace no matter what. I can still hear her saying, "Don't judge too quickly. Emma, people carry stories you can't see." But as a child, I didn't understand what she meant. We weren't poor, but money was tight. Dad kept every dollar written in a small brown notebook. Every expense, every purchase. And if I ever asked for something extra, he'd just say, "Not now, sweetheart." Back then, I thought he was just stingy. A man who loved rules more than he loved his family. Things started to change. When I turned 15, Mom got sick, really sick. Some days she couldn't even get out of bed. Dad became quieter. He left early, came home late. And sometimes when he did, he looked right through me, not at me. Then, one evening, he didn't come home at all. By morning, the town was talking. They said he'd run away, that he'd left us for another woman. And when a neighbor brought home his work uniform that night, saying, "He won't be coming back," I believed her. Mom cried for weeks. Then she stopped talking about him altogether. She sold little things, jewelry, dishes, to keep us afloat. And I grew up fast. By the time she passed away years later, all I had left for him was anger, cold, hard anger. After Mom's funeral, a man from the bank came to see me. He handed me an envelope and said, "This is from the estate of Robert Miller." My father's name. Inside was a short note. "For my daughter, Emma, I hope one day you'll understand." And a small key. I laughed bitterly. Understand what? That he'd abandoned us? That he'd left Mom to die struggling? I threw the key into a drawer and shut it. Whatever understanding he wanted could stay buried with him. Still. Sometimes late at night, I'd wonder where that key fit. Years went by. I got married to Don. Mark means a kind, patient man who worked at a small printing shop. We had 2 kids, Lily and Ben, and a little rented house that always smelled of crayons and coffee. Life was steady. Hard, but steady. One night, Mark asked, "Do you ever think about your father?" I said sharply, "No, he made his choices." But deep down, that old wound stung again, the wound of being left behind. One afternoon, my Aunt Carol came to visit. We were sorting through old clothes to donate when she pulled out a torn box from the bottom of Mom's trunk. Inside were some old photos, some of me, some of Mom, and one of Dad. Standing in front of a half-built house, on the back, written in pencil, were the words, "For Emma." I froze. Aunt Carol looked at me gently. "You never saw that house, did you?" I shook my head. She sighed. "He started building it before everything happened. Said it would be yours one day." Those words sank into me like stones. Had he really planned something for me? That night I couldn't sleep. I found that little key again. Silver. Worn smooth with time, the number B47 etched faintly on one side. The next morning, I went to the bank the note had come from all those years ago. A young clerk looked up the number, then frowned. "This key belongs to a safety deposit box," he said. "It's still registered under Robert Miller." My breath caught. "Can I open it?" He nodded. "You're the listed heir." Inside were a few papers, an old wristwatch, and a letter sealed with tape, addressed to me. It began simply, "My dearest Emma, if you are reading this, it means I never made it home to you. You probably grew up believing I chose to leave, but I didn't. I was forced to disappear to keep you and your mother safe." I blinked, rereading the words over and over. There were men I trusted who used my name for fraud at the post office. When I tried to report it, they threatened your mother. I had to run and stay hidden until I could prove my innocence. But by the time it was safe to come back, she was gone. Tears blurred the ink. He hadn't abandoned us. He had protected us. At the end, he wrote, "The house at 347 Willow Lane is yours." It took me years to finish it quietly. It's not grand, but it's my way of saying, I never stopped being your father. For days, I didn't tell anyone. I just walked around with that letter folded in my bag, like a secret heartbeat. I wasn't ready to share, Mark noticed. "You're somewhere else lately," he said softly one evening. I nodded. "I found something about my dad." He smiled gently. "Take your time." A week later, I drove to 347 Willow Lane. It was on the edge of town, where the roads were narrow and dusty. The blue gate was rusted, but when I turned the key, it opened easily, like it had been waiting for me all these years. Inside stood a small, quiet house, empty, but not abandoned. Weeds had grown wild in the garden. A window stood half open. The air smelled like old wood and rain, and on one wall hung a photo, me as a little girl, in my school uniform. He must have kept it with him all those years. I sat on the floor and cried. Not loudly, not angrily, just quietly, as if releasing years of misunderstanding. That evening, I made a decision. I'd move us here, not for the inheritance, but for peace, for closure. When we finally moved in, Lily and Ben ran through the rooms laughing. "Whose house is this, Mom?" Lily asked. I looked around, at the walls, at the photo of my younger self, and said softly, "It belonged to someone who loved us." In silence. A few weeks later, I met an elderly neighbor. She remembered my father. "He used to come by sometimes at night," she said. "He never spoke to anyone, just sat outside the gate for a while, then left." That image, of him watching from a distance, broke me and healed me at the same time. He hadn't stopped caring. He had just been too late to explain. Now, years later, I sometimes sit by that same gate, watching my children play. The house feels alive again. The walls don't echo with anger anymore. I used to think forgiveness needed an apology. But I've learned. Sometimes, it only needs understanding. If I'd read that letter sooner, maybe I would have lived differently. But maybe this, right now, was the time my heart was finally ready to listen. When I look up at the sky these days, I whisper, "I understand, Dad, and I believe, wherever he is, he knows." If this real-life story touched your heart, please like button, share bell, and subscribe for more gentle, emotional stories that remind us how forgiveness can change everything.